Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into something that feels, well, pretty crucial in today's world: how to think fast and speak smart. And we're not talking about just, talking the fastest or loudest. It's more about handling those moments, conversations, meetings, maybe an unexpected question with real clarity and confidence.
Exactly. It's a skill that really empowers you.
So, this deep dive, like always, is based completely on the source material you shared with us. Our mission here is to really unpack what the sources say this skill actually means, pull out the best insights, and find those practical strategies offered up. Let's figure out how to be ready, right?
Absolutely. It's about getting that internal control, that clarity in communication. It gives you so much more agency.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Think fast. What comes to mind for most people is probably someone just reacting instantly, maybe blurting things out.
Right. That's the common image.
But the material we're looking at, it defines it quite differently, doesn't it?
It really does. The sources are quite clear. Thinking fast isn't about speaking without thinking at all, not even close. Instead, it's framed as training your brain to like quickly organize your thoughts.
Organize, okay.
Yeah, so you can communicate them clearly. It's about having that mental clarity, that presence of mind, sort of ready to go when you need it. And what's really interesting is the point that the best communicators, they aren't always the fastest talkers.
Hmm.
They're the ones who get their ideas across effectively. They know the value of a pause, maybe just a short one. They choose their words. They stay calm, even under pressure. So thinking fast, in this view, is really about accessing clarity quickly. And the good news, according to the source, is that it's a skill. You can develop it.
Okay, so thinking fast equals efficient thought organization, not just speed. Got it. That feels like a key distinction. Now, what about the other side, speaking smart? Again, maybe we think of complex words sounding academic.
Yeah, trying too hard, maybe.
Exactly. What do the sources say speaking smart really is?
Well, based on the material, it boiled down to expressing your thoughts clearly, confidently, and crucially in a way that actually connects with people. A core idea highlighted is that smart speakers are really good listeners first.
Listening first.
Right. They respond logically, thoughtfully. Their words have a purpose. Think about, a time maybe you got to ask something totally unexpected.
Yeah, interview, Q&A.
Right. Or just a tough conversation.
Yeah,
And you feel that panic. Your mind goes blank. Words tangle up.
definitely been there.
Well, the skills we're talking about today, according to the source, are designed precisely to help you navigate those moments better, with more poise, more effectiveness. It's about building that ability to respond thoughtfully, not just react when you feel pressured.
So less about impressing, more about connecting and being effective. I like that. That changes things. All right, let's get practical. How does the source say we actually build this skill set? What are the strategies?
Okay, so the material offers several, and the first one, it sounds a bit strange, but it's presented as really fundamental. Slow down to speed up.
Slow down to speed up. That sounds like a paradox. How does slowing down help you think faster?
It does seem counterintuitive, right? But when you're asked something or you need to respond, making that conscious choice to just pause, even for a second, maybe two, it gives your brain vital processing time.
Like hitting the pause button internally.
Exactly. Like letting your internal computer load the right file. That tiny pause can be the difference between, blurting out something you wish you hadn't and actually forming a coherent thought. It stops you from getting ahead of yourself and losing your train of thought. And the sources give some really useful examples of what they call smart stalling techniques.
Smart stalling. Okay,
Good.
tell me more.
Things like, that's a great question, or let me think about that for a moment, or even just, here's how I see it. Using phrases like these buys you that mental beat, but it also makes you look thoughtful, in control, not hesitant.
I like that smart stalling.
Yeah.
It reframes the pause completely. Okay, what's the next technique from the source?
Next up is practicing mental framing. This is all about being able to quickly structure your thoughts, put them into a clear, easy-to-follow format, even when you're on the spot.
Right, imposing some order quickly. Does the source give us a simple way to do that?
It does. And it's super simple but really powerful. Point, reason, example.
Point, reason, example. PRE.
Exactly. Let's use the example from the material. Say someone asks you, what makes a good leader? Instead of just rambling, you use the structure. Your point is, a good leader listens.
Okay,
Your reason is, because when people feel heard, they trust you more, they follow.
makes sense.
And your example. For instance, my last manager always asked for feedback, and it really boosted team morale. See how that framework helps you build a complete, clear, compelling answer really fast? It takes those scattered thoughts and just snaps them into shape. That's key for speaking smartly.
That PRE structure is incredibly practical, an instant template. Okay, so we pause to think, we use the structure. What about actually having the words?
Right, which brings us to the next strategy, building your vocabulary and what the source calls your expression bank. Now, this isn't about needing a huge academic vocabulary.
Not knowing every word in the dictionary, then.
Exactly not. The value, according to the material, is having a good stock of useful functional language ready to go. Think transitional phrases, connectors, strong verbs. The source gives examples like, that reminds me of, or to build on that idea, or what's important here is, from my perspective, things like that.
Connectors, basically. Ways to link ideas smoothly.
Precisely. And the suggestion is to actively practice using these, even in just everyday chats. It trains your brain. Makes you sound more articulate, sure. But crucially, it helps you retrieve those words effortlessly when you're feeling the pressure. It's about building fluency with helpful language tools.
Building that fluency, okay. Strategy D mentions reading, reflecting, and responding daily. How does that fit in?
Yeah, the source points to a strong link between being a curious reader, books, articles, maybe even thought-provoking deep dives like this one, right? And developing mental agility. But reading alone isn't enough. The crucial next step is reflecting on what you took in.
Okay, processing it.
And then, importantly, trying to explain it in your own words. Doing this consistently as a habit sharpens both your critical thinking, how fast you process info, and your verbal agility, how well you can talk about it. The material actually suggests a specific exercise. The 1-minute challenge.
1-minute challenge. Sounds intense.
It can be. You pick a random topic. It could be anything. Space travel, baking bread, kindness, and just try to speak about it coherently for 60 seconds. It's direct practice for thinking and speaking on your feet.
That's a great drill. You could literally do that anywhere. Okay, finally, the source talks about staying present. Why is that so critical?
Well, the material points to anxiety as like a major roadblock to clear communication.
Makes sense. Worrying gets in the way.
Totally. When you're worried about saying the perfect thing or how you sound or forgetting something,
Yeah.
your focus is all inward. You're not really present in the conversation. You might even stop really listening.
Yeah, you're stuck in your own head.
Exactly. So the source suggests that by consciously working on staying present, really focusing on the other person, listening, noticing things, even just remembering to breathe, you lower that internal pressure to be perfect. And when you're present, you can actually absorb what's happening and respond thoughtfully based on reality rather than just reacting out of anxiety. That thoughtful response is speaking smarter. Presence kind of underpins everything else.
It really does feel like the foundation. Okay, but let's be real. Even with all these tools, sometimes your mind just goes blank.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you get a question that completely blindsides you. What does the source say to do right then in that moment of panic?
It happens to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Even the best communicators. And the source acknowledges that offering 3 practical go-to moves for when your mind just freezes up.
Go-to moves. Okay, what are they?
First one, really simple. Ask a clarifying question. Like, could you repeat that?
Yeah.
Or could you rephrase that? Or maybe, just so I understand, are you asking about X or Y? It's polite, buys you time, and makes sure you actually understood.
Smart. Immediately takes the pressure off having to answer something you might have misheard.
Exactly. Second move, repeat or paraphrase the question back.
Ah, so you're asking about.
Precisely. Again, buys you a few seconds to think, but it also shows you were listening, you're engaged, even while your brain is catching up.
Okay, and a third.
The third tactic is basically to acknowledge your thought process. Be a little transparent.
How so?
You could say something like, that's an interesting angle. I hadn't thought about it quite like that before, but here's what initially comes to mind.
Yeah.
Or even just, let me just take a second to gather my thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the source makes a really crucial point here. People generally value honesty and composure much more than just sheer speed.
Right.
It's way better to pause and give a thoughtful answer than to rush and stumble. Speaking with authenticity in that moment, that's presented as more important than sounding instantly brilliant.
That's actually a huge relief. You don't have to fake it. Taking a moment, being real, that is speaking smart.
There's all reinforces the idea that this isn't some magic trait. It's a skill you build, which means practice.
Absolutely. The source is really clear on this. It's not about perfection overnight. It's about making steady progress through practice.
So how should we practice?
The recommendation is to start small. Don't try to, revolutionize your communication style all at once. Practice using these ideas, clear thinking, maybe that PRE structure, pausing in low-stakes situations first.
Like ordering coffee. Exactly. Or chatting with friends, contributing in a casual meeting. Those little moments. The material suggests the cumulative effect of this kind of consistent, low-pressure practice is really significant. Over time, your brain just gets faster, more agile at retrieving information and structuring thoughts. And as the source puts it, you'll probably surprise yourself how quickly your confidence grows when you combine that thoughtful practice with staying calm and present.
That potential for growing confidence is definitely a big motivator.
It really is. So, if we boil it all down, the core message from the source material seems to be this: thinking fast and speaking smart. It isn't about being the loudest or, the most polished person there. It's fundamentally about being clear, being calm, and being confident in how you express your ideas. It's about trusting yourself enough to pause, using simple structures to organize, speaking with intention. And like any valuable skill, the material tells us it gets better with time, practice, and being patient with yourself.
Patience seems key too.
Definitely. So just to recap those key principles from the source: slow down to think faster, use simple frames like point, reason, example for clarity, build your vocabulary and practice articulating daily, and really work on staying present.
Thinking about that idea, time, practice, and patience, what does that suggest about how you, the listener, might approach developing this? Maybe it shifts the focus away from demanding perfection right now and more towards just embracing the process, celebrating the small wins, learning as you go. Perhaps just think about one of these tools we discussed. Maybe trying a smart stalling phrase next time you need a second, or mentally using PRE for a thought, or just really focusing on being present in your next chat. How might applying just one thing change things for you? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.